SharePHIL continues to grow and continues with its advocacy. We have now 138 members. The board has set a target for membership for 2020. We are targeting to double our membership by that year. Our financial position is now very respectable. We have 20.86 million in assets, 12.97 in million in current assets, and 7.85 in investments. So your organization is in a healthy financial position, and hopefully we will be able to make use of these resources to pursue our objectives.
Well, today we are honored to formally induct new members, Tomas Navazero, Rachel Paunlagi, and Alexander Escucha.
I, having been accepted as a member of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, do solemnly swear to abide by and uphold its articles of incorporation and bylaws.
I'd like to share this quotable quote from Warren Buffett. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. We have deliberately chosen a panel which represents all the players in the valuation exercise. We do have quite an outstanding panel today.
So the topic is fairness valuation, fairness opinions. But valuation exercise is an art, not a science.
It's a storytelling in a way. Valuation is a storytelling. But it cannot just be all art as well. It cannot all be creative. You have to have some science applied to it. So there are tools that we use to do the valuation that, lends credibility to the process as well.
The math side is, as you say, exact. And the art side is a bit more creative. And that's, I think, where almost always we have the arguments.
Generally, the fairness opinion is one of the last things that happen in reality. By the time we get the fairness opinion, the deal is done. As long as you're accredited, it's the issuer who can choose who the fairness opinion provider will be. At the end of the day, you have to trust the issuer.
The problem is when the public or the investors, especially since this is SharePHIL and the objective is to protect small investors, when the situation is not able to provide the small investor a choice, then that becomes an issue.
There are different methodologies you can use, which is the science behind it. But you have to evaluate which of these methodologies would give you what your estimate is of the fair value. Now you typically arrive at a range. You don't pinpoint a value. And then that serves as a data point to investors on where fair value may be.
Bigyan mo talaga yung shareholder ng choice. Bigyan mo talaga siya ng choice so that he becomes a willing buyer, willing seller.
Price is what you pay and value is what you get. So there's a huge difference between price and fair value. It's impacted by other factors like the strength of the negotiator, the circumstances surrounding the buyer and the seller, which may not really be intrinsic to the value of the business.
On our part, we issued circular in 2013 which put some safeguards on the issuance of fairness opinion by PSA accredited valuers.
I think there are other solutions that could be adopted, and Director Francis Lim alluded to it. One is you have to have a good sets of good independent directors. In the case of EDC, we're happy that we have one.
Price that is above market is not necessarily the right price, di ba? You know naman, di ba? That's why we took it upon ourselves to really come forward as independent directors to make sure that we avoid, prevent, or at least minimize complaints. And I think there were no complaints, at least to our knowledge, no?
The level of rigor among the generation of analysts. The Philippine team from Ateneo just won the Global CFA Award in New York 2 weeks ago, the third time in the last 7 years. And these are the population of the analysts, equity analysts, who are doing these things. Hindi na yung rumor-rumor lang, opinion lang. There's a rigor to it. The difference is, are you using a DuPont model or a Gordon Growth model or a sum of the parts model? Then you can really parse the differences in their valuation. Hindi yung opinion ko kasi ito eh. Mas magaling ako sa iyo eh. Wala na yun. It's becoming more objective.
The SEC and the PSE, having been involved in valuation as part of their mandate, have the expertise, no? They have all the track record of these companies that they accredited, and that can be part of the database from which they can make a decision.
I think the regulator, the PSE, the self-regulatory body is heading the right direction, which is to give a lot more power to the disadvantaged side, which is the minority.
It's interesting to note that in the integrated corporate governance report, there is already a recommendation that for boards to have effective shareholder voting mechanisms such as supermajority or majority of minority shareholders requirements for voting to protect minority shareholders against actions of controlling shareholders.
Deciding who pays the fee is just one aspect. I think what needs to be looked at as well is the credibility of the one who issues the fairness opinion. We don't look at our duty of care to the client itself, but to whoever will have access to our report.
So with that, I'd like to close this meeting and thank you all for coming. We hope you found this an interesting and valuable forum. So good afternoon to all. Thank you.